Okay, it's 2:00. So I see a lot of wonderful people here, a lot of familiar people, and I want to say hello to Jenny Sanchez. Hi, Jenny. We're going to wait another. Great to see you. So good afternoon to everybody. Welcome, welcome everyone, friends and supporters of the Grey Panthers NYC. Thank you so much for being part of the Grey Panthers movement, which was founded in 1970 by Maggie Kuhn to combat ageism and promote intergenerational contact. We are a volunteer organization. Yes, you heard that right, volunteer. We depend on all of you to keep us going by sharing your time, talent, and energy. My name is Michelle Arnaud. I'm the president, and I'll be moderating this webinar. So kindly put your questions and thoughts in the chat. Today's an unusual day. I'm usually by myself, but today I'm joined by Carrie Lel-Jadal, who is the co-chair.
We're actually together.
And Sophia, our wonderful coordinator, and even another visitor. So now I want to remind you that we meet virtually on the last Tuesday of the month to consider positive change as we join together to transform long-term care in our country. And in supporting the mission, our chapter's been conducting this monthly webinar series since 2021. All of our webinars are recorded, and this one is actually being recorded right now. And everything's available on our website for your listening pleasure. You can find it on gpnyc.org. During this hour, we agree to disagree respectfully as we join together to promote dignity in aging. And as we provide a safe space to discuss how ageism impacts our world with the goal of making a positive difference, specifically during these Tuesday sessions, we've been addressing the issue of long-term care and nursing homes. The intention is to build bridges and create unity among advocates, residents, families, and industry representatives, as well as across generations. But before we begin, I have a very brief announcement. We're hoping to start a virtual book club over the summer, since so many of our presenters are authors. Our first selection will be Caregiving Navigator by our very own board member, Ron Rowell. This is a helpful step-by-step guide, a great resource for caregivers. And if the topic interests you, please email me directly. My email is michelle@greypanthersnyc.org. So for 2024, we put together a long-term care focus on innovations. And today, our distinguished presenter joins us from overseas. Our topic is innovation for long-term care, what we can learn from the Swiss with Vincenzo Paolino. So Mr. Paolino is a certified specialist in geriatric care. He has a background in care management as well as business, which has enabled him to lead companies in the field of long-term care with sustained success. And a little bit about his background. He studied psychology in Munich, completed an apprenticeship in psychiatric nursing in Switzerland, wrote a thesis on new approaches in long-term care for elders. He then served as a nursing director in a hospice for AIDS patients, which he followed after 13 years by becoming a nursing director in a state-owned nursing home near Zurich, where he and his staff successfully implemented elements of the Eden alternative to boost culture change. Then in 2008, Mr. Paolino co-founded the consulting firm Spectrin Excellence in Long-Term Care. And 4 years later, he founded Alma Casa, Empowering and Caring. Alma Casa offers a value-based, small-scale approach to the needs of elders and their care partners, following and developing aspects of the Eden alternative and other models in order to create a value-based approach with a Swiss finish. He has 5 sites and 2 more will follow this year and in the future. The use of social media such as Facebook and the Alma Casa Academy has offered blended learning online. So Vincenzo is the founder and past president of the Zurich-based association called Queer Altern. This group of over 500 members develops in housing and services for the older LGBTQI community. So now it's my honor to pass the virtual mic to Vincenzo Paolino. Welcome, Vincenzo.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Thank you for the introduction. I couldn't have said it better myself, I think. So I don't have to tell you anything more about myself. Thank you for the invitation and also for the productive prep session a few months ago. And Michelle, thank you for the catchy title, What We Can Learn from the Swiss. So can we have the first slide, please? Thank you very much. Yes, so I have changed the title, but not really. I have said it's for me. It's like let's be human, and what to learn from the Swiss and vice versa. Because as you already heard, some of our ideas came over from the States, from people like Dr. Bill Thomas or Al Power. Maybe there also you also know them. But we put a Swiss finish on it, that is true. And today I want first say, why can we learn from the Swiss? Because there is something to learn. As you may know, next slide, please. As you may know, Switzerland is the depository state for the Geneva Convention for the amelioration of the wounded and sick in war times. So Henri Dunant, a Swiss gentleman, he founded the Red Cross after witnessing the cruelty of war. And today, the International Committee of the Red Cross, as well as many other organizations engaging in human rights, are based in Geneva, Switzerland. So humanity, unfortunately, had and still has issues to act human. Switzerland offers hope and mechanisms to help. So next slide, please. Yeah, as Michelle said, I'm a person that has engaged in long-term care for a very long time. My thesis about better approaches for the care of the elderly was from 1991, exactly 33 years ago. I can't believe it myself, but it's true. And this passion has lasted for a long time. It brought me to like doing things like the Dr. H radio show, which I have every Sunday, and on a Zurich-based radio station, or having worked with the Global Aging Network for 7 years as a board member, and also having founded the Queer Aging Society here in Zurich that Michelle also already mentioned. So my presentation starts now, and I would like to mute the slides for a moment so that you can see me. My presentation today has two parts, a historical part and a practical part. Let's start with history. Let's start with three numbers: 1789, 1948, and 1964. These three numbers stand for progress that had to be fought for and suffered. Like 1789, the French Revolution was a liberation from feudalism and immaturity in Europe. In 1948, the UN Declaration of Human Rights as a reaction to the horrors of the Nazi era and the Second World War. And 1964, the Civil Rights Act with the goal of equal voting rights for all people in the US. In all cases, it was about oppression. It was about the lack of basic rights, of freedom, and the impossibility of a dignified and self-determined life. I will show you today that we urgently need a similar moment, a moment of truth, a moment of reflection on fundamental human rights, not only but especially for people with dementia. The current accommodation, also known as nursing home for people with dementia, is often not what they need. Let's be honest. If the need for a new nursing home is recognized in politics, then it goes like this, at least here in Switzerland, but I think it's kind of similar all over the place. Like we need 70 or 100 or 200 new beds. You ask an architect or general contractor who says, oh, we know how to do that. We have done it before. Then a nursing specialist comes in the group who prepares all that and says something like, we need the largest possible wardroom there. And then we have another new home based on the model from 1975 or earlier, a home according to the rules of the hospital paradigm. So what do I mean by hospital paradigm? Can we have the slide 4, please? Yes, next slide. Yeah, thank you. So what do I mean by that? In medieval Europe, caring for the elderly and sick was the responsibility of monasteries and nuns. Then, at the end of the 19th century, there was a huge surge in medical research and development. As you see here, Florence Nightingale, those of you who have acquaintances in care or as a care person themselves, they know her, of course. She tried to professionalize the nursing work. So, and then we had these huge successes, medical successes, like X-rays and antibiotics, vaccinations, and so on. And nuns became nurses, and nursing was now part of the newly emerging hospital system. The head of the hospital, of course, was the head physician, and there was a steep hierarchy based on professional expertise. Standardized procedures were and are necessary in order to make good diagnosis and successfully carry out the medical interventions needed. Please don't misunderstand me. I am not criticizing the hospital as such. I am not denying the blessings of modern medicine, which I, like perhaps many of you, have fortunately already experienced. Next slide. But the problem is this. The successful hospital model was adopted and in the 1950s turned into the hospital paradigm for the construction and operation of nursing homes. And this happened all over the world, at least where the financial resources were available. I think this is a misguided development and it leads to pure results. You see here the boom on hospitals that I mentioned, and you see that the way of working in a hospital, and that is not, I'm not criticizing that, is like a machine. Like every day has to be the same, and the procedures have to be the same in order to get best possible results. But for older people who live there, like that's their home, that's their maybe for 1 year, 2 years, or even longer. I don't think that anyone wants to live in an institution. So you can please mute the slide now for a moment. I was a guest in such a new home about 1 year ago for the opening. It's near Zurich. Imagine it like this. You've got 150 beds on 4 different floors, and the building is directly connected to the hospital. So you have 30 people, 30 patients or residents, let's call them patients, per ward. There is a large lounge on each floor, but nothing really interesting happens there. The small built-in kitchen has more of a decorative character because the food comes from the hospital kitchen, of course. The architects designed a huge inner courtyard in the large square floor plan because they had to bring light. I'll show you the picture afterwards. In the courtyard, you will see on the picture then three huge metal objects that are supposed to resemble flowers. And you also will see some scattered chairs also made of metal. It's a very special look. It's not interesting, not natural. It shivers. It sends down shivers. Then I could also see in the corridors, and I, I could see cameras in the corridors and the corresponding monitors in the wardroom. Gosh, I thought, are we in a prison here? And that is a brand new nursing home. It was 65 million Swiss francs, and it only opened a year ago. Then I watched the mostly older visitors because it was the open day, opening day. And I could hear them whispering to each other, would you like to live here? And I asked myself, would I like to work there? Then the word therapy. Have you noticed that many things that are part of normal life are suddenly called therapy in a nursing home? A moment ago, you were enjoying your dog or cat, but now you are receiving pet therapy in the nursing home. You may have enjoyed cooking, or at least you did from time to time, but now it's called activation therapy once a week with a focus on cooking. And that is if you happen to get into a good nursing home. I sometimes imagine myself what it will be like when I live in a care home and get hungry in the evening. As there is no fridge I can help myself to, I have to ask the nursing staff. I'm sure the care report will say, Mr. Paulino received yogurt therapy. So when a person with dementia encounters this system, it can only go wrong. And that because these are two different worlds, very, very different worlds. And also, I want to quote a few sentences from Al Power, my friend Al Power, who says that in this context, in this hospitalized context, every statement made by people with dementia are too quickly pathologized. And in care homes, we set higher standards for them than we do for ourselves. Why is that? Or what an example. And I also consider, I would encourage you to read the book Dementia Beyond Drugs, in which Al describes this phenomenon. You know, we all get angry sometimes. We get sad, we get frustrated or anxious, but people with dementia have challenging behaviors. We go for a walk or go away when we are bored, but people with dementia have wandering syndrome. We also don't like being locked up. No one does. Or being ordered around or being touched by strangers for washing or for showering. But people with dementia become restless and aggressive. And recently, an Almacasa site manager traveled to a psychiatric clinic in the region near Zurich. There she wanted to get to know one of our new residents who happened to be a patient in this psychiatric clinic. She wanted to know more a bit more about him. She asked the relatives, then the staff and the doctor a few questions, like, who was Mr. X? What makes him special? What is important to him? Because he also suffers from dementia and he can't tell about it himself. In other words, she asked questions that I think are justified and professionally important. Do you know the reaction? What the reaction was? The relatives were completely surprised. No one had ever asked them about it, but they liked it. The employees of the psychiatric hospital did not know the answers to the questions, And the long-standing doctor was also perplexed. No one ever from a nursing home would have asked such a question when picking up a patient. The doctor's report and the diagnosis list would be enough. And even such a visit from the nursing home staff hardly ever happened. So I think in the hospital paradigm, these personal information, these really get to know someone with a humanistic approach is not enough stressed and done. Because one thing is true, if you know one person with dementia, you know only one person. Every person is different because we are multidimensional and complex beings. We are influenced by our genes, by our environment, psychology, our social and spiritual being. And all of these influences, and all of this, the environment, our psychology, influences each other and also our brain function. For this reason, we need a holistic approach to dementia care and not the hospital paradigm. We don't need hospital architecture, structures, or permanently closed dementia wards with 25 or more patients. Believe me, any one of us would become aggressive after a few days in such an environment, and we all would probably have to be sedated. But what do we need? We need people like you at all levels of care and nursing who reflect on humanistic values and translate these into action. People who are committed to freedom, to reason, and to positive change. Before we started our session, we were talking to each other and I said, I'm happy that so many join us tonight, or for you, it's this afternoon, and because we have to build what I call positive mafias, connecting people together who are good, willing people and give them arguments like I tried to do this afternoon. So can I have the next slide, please? Yes, next, yes. Yes. For example, mindful language is important because language determines thinking, and thinking determines action and therefore reality. So let's be careful together about how we talk and write about people with dementia. The term demented should really be thrown in the dustbin of history once and for all, because it's a diabolic label that makes us forget the person behind it. If you say, you know, she's or he's demented, you have this big stigma on your forehead. And I think that's inhumane, and we should talk differently so that we can act differently. So I prefer to talk about people living with dementia because the person is still there. The person is not gone and we have to keep that in mind. So I also try to say like people with changing abilities, like Al Power also does in his book. And if we do that, we can strike a different chord and make our actions more human too. I think it is important to make humanistic values tangible. At Alma Casa, we work with the 7 domains of well-being. Next slide, please. A concept introduced by Al Power, Bill Thomas, and I want to get through these humanistic values for nursing homes. They are based, by the way, on the 5 green spots there, which are the values of the revolution, the French Revolution: enlightenment, peace and democracy, fraternité, liberté, and égalité. So what we do at Alma Casa, we really work with the 7 domains of well-being, like identity. Do we really know enough about the client, about our resident? Does he feel recognized as a person that was and the person that she or he is today? Then do we have possibilities for meaningful, so that would be here, meaning, is there a possibility for meaningful activities? And I don't mean the mentioned the therapy sessions that I mentioned before. I'm not talking about artificial activities, but meaningful activities like helping to prepare meals, or just looking at preparing the meals and giving a comment on preparing the meals. So next one would be security. Do I feel secure enough? Not where my integrity is not violated? Do I have the possibility to be connected to others? And again, if you live together with 30 others in a ward, it is difficult because we as people, we are not made for that. We are used to live in groups of 8 or 12. That's what we can handle, and where we become friends to others when we have in this family-like situation. So connectedness is important. Autonomy is important. Can I get up when I want? Do I have to have breakfast at 8 o'clock, or can I choose to have it at 9 or 10 o'clock? Can I come in with my morning gown instead of having to be to be dressed properly just to go for breakfast? So at Alma Casa, of course, because you are in this home-like environment, you have most possible autonomy. So joy is important. There are many studies of residents of nursing homes, and if you ask them what is important for their life, they would say, yes, I have medical issues and I need that and this, but very, very early on, everyone would say, I want to have joy in life. And so therefore, for example, in Alma Casa, we have these aperitif hours every Friday, where we serve aperitifs and not just tea, but really things that people want, and their relatives are also welcome to join us once a week. And last not least, is there a place for growth? Because I strongly believe that every person can grow until the very end. And the growth can mean to grow inside yourself and to think about your life, or think about death and prepare for death. That's also part of growth. But these questions, if you put them front and center, even also with your team members, that gives the atmosphere that I want for Alma Casa. That means that we put in place, that we realize humanistic values, and that people and their relatives, our residents and their relatives, can feel that every day. So 1789, 1948, and 1964. I would encourage you to help make every year from today, from 2024, a year of change for people with dementia, for people with physical restraints who need care for a longer period of time. So what can you do? First, are you a person who is involved in political decisions relating to care and nursing? And do you feel the need for change? Next slide, please. Then please ask yourself, when you work on new projects or renovations, would I see myself? Would I see my mother, my father, or my wife in this place? And ask architects and operators what opportunities there will be in this new building for meaningful activities, for joy, and for security and privacy. Don't let anyone tell you that you need at least 100 beds for a care home to be economically viable, because that's what we heard when we started Alma Casa 10 years ago. We said we wanted to make these smaller places with 30 residents, divided into 3 groups of 10 each. So that's a typical Alma Casa. You will see some pictures afterwards. And so people would say, no, 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 forget it. You can't, that wouldn't be financially viable. But after 10 years, there is proof of concept. We have 5 sites running, and I can say that it is possible. Maybe in a country or in a region where finances are not as good, you would have like 5 of those groups, so that would be 50 residents, but still 10 in each group. So that can be more efficient, I would say, yes. But I wouldn't go for more than 50, because then it becomes, again, very it isn't as personal and as I would like to have it. So the manager of we have the politician now. Now we go to the manager of a care facility. And maybe this facility is structurally not quite satisfactory, and you feel the need for change. So my advice would be for you as a nursing home director: strengthen your team, do little good deeds to them, because they need it. They need it because they try to compensate for shortcomings with emotional work every day. Then, next step, win over your board to the revolutionary ideas that I'm currently putting into your head, and be persistent in implementing them. Now, next slide, please. Yeah, be open to children, be open to animals in your nursing home. It's fun. And be open for spontaneity. Spontaneity is important because we have learned from the hospital model that every day has to be more or less the same. The routine has to be followed, but not if you live there for a year. We all can, be in a hospital for 2 weeks or 10 days. That's not a problem to follow the rules there. But if you live there, if that is your only address you have, because that's your home, it shouldn't be like that, in my opinion. Next slide, please. Yes, and also be LGBT friendly and talk about it. Because my experience with Alma Casa, having the LGBTI label in Switzerland as one of only a few nursing homes, is that everyone feels welcome. Heterosexuals like it because they think, yeah, if they can be here, I can also be like I am, and not to have put a mask on. And that is important in every age, but also if you are old and if you have needs, care needs. So if yourself are affected or a relative, and if you feel the need for change, then I would advise you to choose a place where you feel comfortable, where it smells good, where you can see lovely details in the furnishings, and where you are greeted in a friendly manner when you come in. Ask about the daily routine. Sit with the residents and feel the atmosphere. I think we must stand together and stop allowing that people with dementia or physical restraints are being harmed by the current care system. Sometimes we wish for a bang or a revolution, like in 1789, that would change everything in one instant. But yet, I cannot hide this truth from you. We will not succeed in months or years, because it takes a lot to make these phenomena change. So I think it's important that we always celebrate small successes along the way, and that we build these relationships together, that we help each other, and that we cherish our accomplishments. We should celebrate when there is a moment of truth here and there, a moment of reflection on fundamental human rights. So, and now I'm showing you a few pictures about architectural design and also from our daily life at Alma Casa. And can I have the next slide, please? So first, this is the sites that are running. So around in the middle of this slide, one back, please, sorry. You see Zurich. There is Zurich. The lake of Zurich here goes down to the right. And in this area, we are now running these sites, and two more are to come. And I can tell you that wherever I talk about what we do, people are really positive about it. Usually, they don't even know or believe that it can be done differently. And then the next thing they say, oh, that Alma Casa must be very expensive, right? And I say, no, we have the same prices as all the other nursing homes in the vicinity. And we are also proud to say that we are open to everyone. We are not a high level residence only for rich people. That's not the case. We are open for everyone because our tariffs are within the boundaries where the state would subsidize a person that cannot pay for itself. I'm very proud about that because it shows that we can bake a different cake with the same money. And if you have the tenacity to dare to do it, I would say. Next slide, please. So this is a typical situation in this group with 8 to 12 residents. And don't forget, these residents have high care needs. In Switzerland, we have 12 grades of care needs, and our average is 8. And we have no one below 4. So this is for people at Alma Casa who cannot stay at home anymore. It is not possible for them to live on their own anymore, even with help from professionals, like the dementia is going on fast or other reasons not to stay at home anymore. And the kitchen here, you see the person who is cooking and serving the food. This is done every day freshly. It doesn't come from a central kitchen. And it gives opportunity to talk about the cooking process. And the person on the left would be there from 10 o'clock in the morning to 7:30. And there is always someone in this kitchen. So that means there is also always micro stimulation, a chat, a eye contact, or listening to people talk, or reading a newspaper or something like that. So normal life. That's normal life. And one of the consequences is that we have rarely, really very rarely bedridden residents, despite the fact that many of our residents are quite sick and quite ill and progressed in their illness. And I think that is remarkable because I have seen many nursing homes throughout my career. And if the atmosphere, if the milieu, if we say, is not right, then of course, and if you don't feel like a need to get up in the morning, you will retreat yourself, you will go back to your bed, you will go back to your room, and then be more likely to be bedridden. So the next slide, please. Yeah, I talked about that already, meaningful activities. And please note here that the stove is in every Alma Casa is always like this. It's like the person that who cooks is always looking into the room, never putting their shoulders or turning away from the people in the room, like turning away from the residents. So this is also a architectural important detail to be followed. Next slide. Yes, that's the bathroom. And I have seen many nursing home bathrooms in my life, and maybe you have seen them too. And usually they look like tiles from bottom to top, usually white tiles, and more looking like a slaughterhouse than a bathroom. And people don't want to go there and have a bath. Instead, we choose to use colors to have nice details like the chandelier. And the atmosphere of that is totally different from what I have seen in many years of my experience in conventional nursing homes. And it's not more expensive, It's not because the chandelier was only 50 US or something, because I bought it from a website, and even the nice looking mm, cupboard there. It was a used one that we bought. It's not a new one, and it was about $250 or something. So nothing to care about very much. But if you love the details, if you put some love in there, people notice that and they feel much more recognized and more valued. Next slide, please. Yes, the dishwasher is a bit elevated. I don't know if you usually in Europe they are at the bottom, so that you have to bow down. That's also a small detail, but residents love it, and also our staff loves it. Next slide. Yeah, kitchen work, normal kitchen work. Next slide. And yeah, doing the chores and being part of everyday life. This is Alma Casa. Next slide. Yeah, I think it is really important to bring back humanistic values to long-term care, because not only we do build our own future, but also because our long-term care system once was built upon the idea of being human to each other and being human to older people who live with dementia or have other like physical problems, like other conditions. So our idea of having these places was once humanistic, but we took the wrong turn, in my opinion, in the 1950s and 60s, where we built machines and institutions instead of building places where people live with the proper care they need. And with proper care, I mean care as a sustaining people, nurturing people, helping people for everyday life. But I don't talk about nursing that commands your life and dictates the life that you have to live every day. So it's about giving support, but not dominating everyday life. Next slide, please. Yeah, and I would like to finish with a quote, and I'm not taking the one from Marie Antoinette, the one with the cake, but I'm going with Barack Obama. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like if you're a nursing home director, you don't have to be perfect. Just try to make things better. Because if you do it a little bit better, it's already good. So, dear friends from the US and from around the world, I hope this presentation has given you some ideas and some power and motivation wherever you are involved in these questions, because they are important questions, that you dare to ask for more and you dare to do more, because it can be done. It really can be done, but you need persistence, perseverance, I would say, and sometimes not believing what every architect or others tell you that you have to do, but stick to your values and stick to the way of life that you would wish for yourself or for your loved ones. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Better is good. Thank you very much. Yeah, the references. Yeah, the references are good. You can have the slides, of course. Like you will find there some interesting things about Alma Casa, but also as I said in the beginning, it's not about what can we learn from the Swiss, but I wanted to show you that we also have learned from you, and so that this interchange is valuable. And so thanks again for listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vincenzo, for that very enlightening presentation. Oops. Sorry, I turned off my video. I'm trying to look at the questions. There are quite a few. Somebody saying that residents' rights, human rights, a nursing home. This person, Claudia, said she visited. Oops. A female resident was bothered by another resident who was walking around the dementia unit constantly and entering her room. And the solution was supposed to be redirection, but the care partner would have to be following her all the time. What about the rights of the resident who needs to walk and move about? What do you suggest?
Of course, there is a need for if you live with dementia, and sometimes you get like we have people with dementia who want to walk. We have that in Alma Casa too. So what we always try to do is find out or give the possibility to walk, go outside, designate a person from the care team to spend time with the person and to go out. We had once a case where our female resident at every 1 p.m. every day, she was like becoming nervous and wanted to leave the place and so on and so on. And we did that. We left the place with her, but came back with her. And then we asked the relatives, what's the point? So why is she so nervous? So we found out that she used to, during her younger years, she had the habit to go for shopping and for groceries at that part of the day. And so her inexplicable behavior, her challenging behavior became much more understandable. And we organized our team around that task. And so she could become tired by walking. And I don't say that there are never problems, because some residents have like behavior that can be difficult for us. But we describe, or we call that behavior not challenging, but we name it like in German it's a hinweisendes Verhalten. In English that would be a behavior that wants to tell us something. And sometimes we don't get it quickly. We have to be like detectives and find out what this behavior, what the reason is. Like sometimes it's very easy, but it's not always recognized. Like people have a infection of the bladder and they can't tell you, or they just have to go to the loo. They can't tell you, or they have another physical problem. So we have to be detectives. It can be and find out what the reason is. And usually we can find it out, and so we can try to moderate these situations.
So somebody was asking, how to, when you were talking about the mafia.
Yes. I can't hear you. You are muted.
Unmute.
Yeah.
What was the question?
The question was, somebody wants more, a better understanding of like
The positive mafia.
the positive mafia. Thank you.
A better understanding.
Define the positive mafia.
So one of our in our audience is Dr. Ingrid Ayers. I've known her, I think since 2005, and she was one of my mentors. She became she completed 75 years yesterday, and we phoned, and she. And she was at the time when I began working internationally also to she brought up the phrase, I think, together with someone else or another friend of ours, And Ingrid and I have since been in contact, and it is about relationships. Like also in the board work for the Global Aging Network. First, when I was on the board, I didn't really know if I was at the right place. Do they really need me? What can I really do here? But then after a while, I became aware how important it is that we know each other. We talk about our work. Aha, in South Africa, she does it that way. In Washington, that's in Australia, it was this problem. Or in Africa, we have totally different situation, but the same humanistic approach. And that gave me personally the strength and the ambition to put something in place in Switzerland. And so that's what I mean with the positive mafia. So that you connect with people who are well-minded and with the proper ideas and get yourself how do you say that in English? Get yourself the energy, because sometimes you need people to talk to and to that they push you to do something, and that's what I call positive mafia.
So working with others like yourself.
Yes, 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 and stay connected, and because sometimes you get setbacks. We had setbacks at Alma Casa, and I had to ask for advice. But if you don't have the contact, if you don't have the positive people behind you, you get like lost, and I didn't want to get lost.
How do you renovate and change the older hospital type building to make them more home-like and away
Yeah,
from the
good question. Good question, because we have lots of them. So you can always try to like instead of having only a floor full of rooms and the central kitchen and the central dining area downstairs, you can try to like close three rooms and make a separate kitchen there for residents. That is not always possible because of financial reasons. I know that, but at least try, give it a thought, give it a thought. Or if you have rooms for residents that are not like you have double rooms or even triple. I don't know if you don't have if you have that in the US, but here in Switzerland, until only recently, we had like 3 bedrooms in long-term
Yes.
care facilities. So I would, if you can't change that, you have to like try things out. Uh, be courageous and try to like change the positioning of the beds, or put a cupboard between the beds, or however, or try something simple. Bring pets into your nursing homes. Talk with your team about that, because that can bring children in, bring animals in, and spontaneity. And don't forget, if you are a manager person in a nursing home, the way you treat the staff will be the way the staff treat the elders. If you have a hierarchic style of managing, your staff cannot give freedom to the residents. And that's fundamental. And some of our managers, I would say most of them can learn that very easily if they want to. But you have to tell them the way the management treats the staff will be the way the staff treats the elders.
Well, and I use the phrase that um, a well-cared staff makes for well-cared residents. Because if you don't care for your staff, they cannot care for your residents.
Exactly. And if they live in fear, they cannot promote freedom.
There was a phrase also last week brought to me of, we all have these different visions of what we're looking for to make the home smaller and more home-like and all that. And it has to be what works for your building, for your location, for your region. And we can't get hung up on a set number. We need to look at what works for the individual location, because this is not going to work the same for everybody. So it also has to have flexibility.
And you have the advantage that you have a proven concept in the US called the Greenhouse Project.
Correct.
It's in the references. You have urban greenhouses. You have more like a village in the villages. And it is really a proven concept. And Alma Casa, I would say, is not very different. It has some differences because of the Swiss situation here, but the architecture and other things are really comparable.
So somebody in Canada is asking about finding and retaining trained staff and how difficult it is. Do you have any advice?
Yeah, I don't want to sound over, preaching, but I can tell you that we don't have any problems at Alma Casa. We have more people applying and qualified applying than we have positions open. And we also have a low turnover because we have, of course, we have our own academy since 2016 or 15, because we found out that staff joining from conventional nursing homes, they have to be reprogrammed because they are so much inclined into this hospital working methodology, so that we have to retrain them to be more spontaneous and be more themselves. And of course, we have also work to do. That's not a question, but you can do work in a different way at Alma Casa and give much more freedom to the residents. Because just one thing we tell them is we work where people live. That's their home. We are guests. Usually in a nursing home, we tend to that's our working environment, and there are some residents also. But the important thing is our working environment. But it's the other way around. We are guests where the residents live. That's their home, not our home. It's their home. So this is one thing. And if you create this culture by insisting on such principles, you create a positive culture, and that makes your place magnetic. So people want to come to work to you because it's fun, it's more enjoyable, and also professionally more interesting. I cannot go into the details now, but I want to point out that at Alma Casa, which is not common in Europe, I would say, maybe more in the US, the nursing staff, the qualified nursings, the registered nursing, are not, as in many other places here in Europe, they do not take part in the everyday life activities. They are like in a Swiss nursing home, usually you have the qualified nurse having 5 telephones on their belt and always running around managing things that they're not trained for, right? And we have now created like a professional role that's really focused on the care process, and that's very important. I know that in the US, the registered nurse is different. It's much more higher in the hierarchy than in Europe. But we have to, and the Eden Alternative talks about the other staff members who care for the resident, who spend the day with them, the whole day with them. They are called, I think it was Shabazz. And Shabazz is the name of a Persian name of a beautiful bird. And they call them Shabazz because this beautiful bird flies around in the ancient Persian stories and looks for the people and comes back to the king and reports how the people are. So they choose the name Shabazz for these staff workers there. So at Alma Casa, we don't have Shabazz because that wouldn't be appropriate. It wouldn't fit in our culture. But we have also created professional roles that are attractive and that empower us and to retain and to find new personnel.
So final question, is the pay at Alma Casa equivalent to the pay outside at the other nursing homes?
Of course. We just finished a survey with 43,000 other participants throughout all Swiss one second. We finished a survey, which we took part in a survey, and salary was also part of the questionnaire. And we had our staff members participate with about 65% of return, and that's quite high. and the pay was estimated as over average. It's important for us to do that because it's also part of a culture. And we also won the prize of best work giver. How do you say that in English? Employer. Employer, yes. In our section between 100 and 250 employees. So we just in January we got this prestigious prize here in Switzerland, and I'm also proud to present that to you.
Congratulations. And is your training system in English or not? Can you offer it to our country?
Well, it depends. It's in German, of course, I must say that. But you know, nowadays with AI, you can translate everything in a second. But we also have, we have the academy. I talked about the academy, but we also have an online training campus called Alma Sapere. And Alma Sapere is with small films and other things. And people, our staff can relate to that 24/7. And we have now accomplished 1,500 finished courses. And I think that blended learning, like learning online with Alma Sapere and learning on-site with the Alma Casa Academy, is the best thing we could do to maintain knowledge and motivation for our staff. We do a lot to have that, but it pays off. In the end, it pays off because we can run Alma Casa in a also financially viable way, and that's now for already 10 years.
Sounds fantastic. And now I think everybody's ready for some coffee therapy.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
But we really appreciated you staying up late and sharing all this very valuable information. Thank you, Vincenzo.
Thank you
And
for your
we'd
input.
like to invite Alma Casa to be in residence on our website. So maybe our followers can also see what you're doing. And I want to remind everybody that next month we'll meet again on April 30th. And we will have, our guest will be the Dutch young writer of The Housemates, Tues. I know I'm mispronouncing his name, but it's the best I can do in Dutch. So thank you to everybody, and I hope that we can adapt some of these wonderful recommendations from you, Vincenzo. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See everybody next week.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye now.